Well, 30 African leaders have gathered for the 31st African Union Summit, now underway in Mauritania. On Sunday, the group held a closed-door meeting to discuss ways to fight extremism and corruption on the continent. Well, Mohamed Yahya is a development and conflict prevention specialist for the United Nations Development Program. He joins us now from Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa. Thanks so much for speaking to us. Initially, this meeting was in large part about tackling corruption, but so far it seems the crisis in South Sudan has really become more of a priority here. Is that where efforts should be focused? And what do leaders hope to achieve?
Thank you for having me. The focus for this year for the African Union remains the focus on corruption. But there's been, as you know, there's been a lot of changes happening, especially in the Horn of Africa, specifically with a peace agreement that was recently signed in Khartoum between the two groups in South Sudan. So that is one of the issues that's been discussed, but that's not the only issue. There's a lot of issues on the agenda of the African Union. Corruption is one of them, issues around South Sudan, obviously, but also other challenges that the continent is trying to address and opportunities, especially the African Continental Free Trade Agreement.
Okay, so realistically, what are expectations here? What do you really believe this meeting can produce as far as tangible policy is concerned?
Well, I think the number one issue will be the AU reform that is led by President Kagame of Rwanda, as you probably know. And that reform calls for a transformation of the organization, and the organization are focusing on a smaller priority. I think progress, he will be sharing his report on progress towards the African Union reforms itself and the institution. The issue of South Sudan obviously will be a critical aspect of how the African Union plus regional organizations such as IGAD can support the realization of those agreements. And also pushing, as I say, the continental free trade, which is extremely important for the continent in realizing its agenda for prosperous and peaceful Africa.
Let me ask you, though, I mean, has the African Union, in your opinion, proven to be as effective an organization as it had hoped, given the corruption, the poverty, and the instability that still persists?
Well, the African Union has achieved a lot. Since the reform from the Organization of African Union to the establishment of the African Union itself, there's been a lot of things the organization has done. But it's always good to remember that the number one role of the African Union is norm setting. And then it's up to the member states and the regional organs such as ECOWAS, IGAD, and others to support the implementation of those norm setting. But if you look at the situation in Somalia without the African Union, it will be in a completely different place. If you look at the role of the African Union in the Sahel, so overall, as an organization that ensures peace and prosperity, the African Union has done a lot. But the reforms that has been put forward by President Kagame realizes that although progress has been made, more challenges remain, and the institution needs to change and ensure that its usefulness for the challenges the continent is facing, such as migration, such as violent extremism, and obviously the impact of corruption.
Okay, Mohamed Yahya, we will leave it there. Thank you so much for that from Addis Ababa.